All right, in this video, we're going to take a look at an individual limit. I am going to use these two properties of limits to be able to evaluate this. I am assuming that at this point in a Calc 1 class, you have looked at the limit as x approaches 0 of sine x over x. You probably went through a proof to prove that that equals 1. Same thing with this one, the limit as x approaches 0 of sine kx all over kx. Again, probably have went through a proof to show that this is equal to 1. So we will use those two properties to do this limit. Now, first thing here I'm going to look at is I have a rational expression here, or in other words, I have a fraction. So I can very easily, since I have subtractions that are being subtracted with a common denominator. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So I'll have the limit as x approaches 0. My first fraction will be a 2 sine x over that denominator of x cosine x, and then minus the sine of 2x all over the x cosine x. All right, so I'm taking the limit of that entire quantity. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start manipulating this. I can use my property of limits that says I can take the limit of the first one and I can take the limit of the second one and subtract. Okay, so I'm not going to take the time to write that one out separately. We'll just do it as I manipulate this next step. In this quantity right here, I'm going to pull that 2 out in front because it's a constant. And then I'm going to manipulate this fraction right here. I see a sine x over x, which is what I have right here. So I'm going to take this rational expression and make it two fractions that are being multiplied together. All right, now let's do that in blue so we can keep track of our work here. So I'm pulling the 2 out in front. I'm still going to have the limit as x approaches 0. I'm going to take the sine x and x, make that one fraction, so sine x over x. I'm going to multiply that by what I have left, which would be a 1 over that cosine x. So just manipulating this, setting this up so that I will be able to then evaluate this limit. Now, it is subtraction, so I'm going to put my subtraction right there. Now, properties of limit says I now can take the limit of this. Again, I'm going to do some manipulation. I've got a sine of 2x over an x, not quite this, but close, and then again, a 1 over cosine. So I'm not pulling anything out here. We'll do this one in red. I'm going to have the limit as x approaches 0. I'm going to put my sine of 2x over the x times 1 over the cosine x. All right, now we've got to do some manipulating. Here I can start working this one out right away. Here I've got to do a little bit more algebra manipulating. So let's go ahead and continue to work this one out. The limit as x approaches 0 of sine x over x, that's going to be 1. And for this 1 over cosine x, I'm going to do a direct substitution. All right, so let's put a direct substitution right here for ds, so we'll remember that's what we did. So I'm going to have the 2 that's out in front. I'm taking the limit of this first quantity, which we know is 1. And then I'm going to do a direct substitution when I take the limit of this. So I'll have a 1 over cosine 0. That's all I'm going to do in that step. All right, minus. Now let's start working on the second one over here. Okay, so this is a sine 2x over x, but I need a 2x on the bottom, which means then I can multiply by a form of 1 and not change my expression here. So since this is a 2, I want a 2 in the bottom. So I'm going to choose to multiply by a 2 over 2. This 2, I'm going to just pull in front of that x because I need it there on the bottom so that I have a sine of 2x over 2x. This 2, on the other hand, is an extra 2 in the top. I don't want it there. I don't need it there. It's a constant. I'm going to pull it out in front. So when I do that, then I'll have the 2 out in front. All right, I will then have the limit as sine 2x over a 2x, all right, which we know is a 1. And then on this one, it's just going to be just like right over here. I can do that direct substitution again on that one. So plugging in a 0, I'll have a 1 over cosine of 0. All right, cosine of 0 is just going to be 1. And so then 1 over 1 is going to give me a 1 there. So I'm going to have a 2 times a 1 times a 1. And then that'll be minus the exact same thing over here. Need to switch back to my red. So I'll have a 2 times a 1 times a 1 right there. So basically 2 minus 2, that's going to give me an overall limit of 0. All right, so now I did skipped some steps here, probably could have shown some more steps, but did a verbal explanation, and definitely used these, assuming that you have already proved this and you know this to be true. So one possible way to work out this limit. Definitely thanks for watching. If the videos are helping, please share with your friends so they benefit too, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thanks.